Okay, so you choosing to not have no conviction or not consider what it actually means according to God and what he created and what the truth is from God about you choosing to have sex with someone you're not married to, you choosing to let someone lick on your body parts, your private parts, okay, even publicly, you choosing to open your legs and get between legs, you choosing to let someone experience the private parts of you privately and publicly, you choosing to open yourself sexually to someone because you're both driven by the lust of your flesh, the lust of your eyes, and you feel some type of connection, which is lust. That's not even a true connection, a love connection. That's a lust thing. That's the flesh. And in the flesh dwells no good thing. You choosing to not learn your lesson from the first time of you being a baby, having a baby, not going to God and saying, hey, what's wrong with me in my sexuality? Why am I like this, distorted sexually? Why is it so easy for me to be easy with people and let them lick on me and touch me and put their fingers in places that they shouldn't be, and we're not even married, where it is honorable and pleasing to God only and to you all because you're in his will in a godly marriage. So you choosing to let someone go there with you and do these different sexual positions privately, publicly, put it on porn sites, you choosing to let someone handle you in a way that goes against your identity sexually, doesn't say that's love. That's not showing someone who understands relationships concerning dating, courtship leading into a godly marriage. And I'm always going to put emphasis on a godly marriage. When you're someone that chooses to open yourself up sexually like that, even if you say, well, I've been with this person for 5 years. Yeah, but what's the issue with you waiting until marriage? Why don't you two just join together in marriage and then be honorable in God's eyesight and no longer be defiled in God's eyesight? Because God doesn't smile upon you opening yourself up like that to someone you're not married to, and you think he's supposed to smile on that. That's not showing that you love you. That's not showing that you are loved, because one of the seeds, ingredients to love, if you study 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, that's the Bible, which is the truth. God is unconditional love. One of those words he said love is patient. Love is kind, it's forbearing, it considers. So when you're someone that's having sex with people, it don't matter if you've been with them 5 years, 5 seconds, especially if you're having sex with multiple people and sexual partners, you're not someone that loves yourself. They don't love you, you don't love you. Y'all just caught up in the lust moment. You lust their body parts. You lust doing oral sex with them. You lust when you looking at it, hitting it from the back, doggy style. You lust how he pulls your hair. You notice ain't no love in it. You lust how he put his finger there. You lust how he make you say his name and you call him daddy. There's no love involved, because as soon as somebody else comes with that same lust spirit, lustful ways, lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, they're going to do that with them too, because everything y'all doing is not in God's will. It's in your will. And that's the problem. That's why love doesn't dwell there, because God is love. And that's why he only honors sex, even oral sex, in marriage, the proper place in his institution. And to be honest with you, most of us, including myself, because I remember my childhood, the reason why we have such a hard time and it's become a strong man in our lives, a Goliath of us waiting until marriage, because different roots. One root is we've seen a misrepresentation of God's order in our parenting foundation of what a godly marriage is, what marriage is supposed to be like. We've seen such a bad misrepresentation, and we inherited, even spiritually, those ways from our parents or whoever raised us, what we saw as children. Number 2, Satan did not allow you to wait He didn't give you that room to do that. What he purposely did was mess with your sexuality by using people, friends of the family members, to either sexually tamper with your body parts, sexually, pervertedly, even using toys or objects. If you was a child, you know what I'm talking about. Or they molested you. Okay? And some of you repeatedly. This is why some of us have such a hard time with abstaining from sexual immorality, which is sexual sins, fornication, sleep with other people's spouses or fiancés, sleep with same sex, opposite sex, this sex, every sex, sex toys, dildos, you name it. Okay? Because the truth is, you have to face, where did your sexuality get distorted? Because now you got the gotta have it's. You're having a hard time doing it God's way, his order, which is in his institution when you're married. Okay? Because that's not normal. But the reason why you become subject and deceived to this is because when you was a little girl, a little boy, someone or some people distorted your sexuality, which distorted your mentality and emotionally, and distorted you inwardly, and some of you even physically, where you may have a trouble or problem with bearing children. You know, the traumatizations are still wearing on you well. It's not even a trend. You wear it every day. So you have a choice to make. You have to go to the root of your fruit concerning, why do you keep bouncing from person to person? Or why are you living together with someone? You're not married to them. You're doing all this sexual innuendos, all this sexual stuff, but there's no love there. You're forcing something because sexually, and it's causing an ungodly soul tie with this person, and you become one with somebody in their bloodline. You become one with their ways, which is always a mixture of even evil, wickedness, and deceptiveness, and their issues. Now you're functioning like them, they functioning like you. You know, and some of us, we get triggered if we see them interacting with other people in an inappropriate way, etc. That's not normal. But when you've been molested or sexually tampered with, and sometimes it only takes one time for a certain child. Sometimes it only takes one time in your childhood. Some of you has been done to repeatedly, to where it's hard for you to come into agreement with what God created as love. You're so in agreement, you become converted and perverted your sexuality, where you agree with masturbation, you agree with pornography, but you'll fight with love and say, what's wrong with loving anybody? Or what's wrong with, well, why do we have to get a paper and get married and wait till marriage to have sex? What's wrong with God's order? That's what I present to you. What's wrong with someone that's perfect, creating something good for you and only for your benefits? Because what you have to face is, how did you get to that distorted, deceptive mindset, thinking? Because everything that comes from God is perfect and only good. The problem is, in your childhood, Satan was able to come in because your bad parenting foundation and distort some things about you. And one thing led to another, into a spinoff and a domino effect into your adulthood. And now you think sexual purity is your enemy. You think and believe waiting until marriage is irrelevant. It's not worth it. You have to face why you think like that, because what you're telling God is what he created for your good, even the sex in the marriage, where you can do oral sex and touch here and touch there and do what's appropriate. Okay, that's all in love. Threesomes is not in love in marriage. Sharing is not caring in marriage. It's male and female. That's it. That's God's order. Anything else is perversion, abomination, unnatural. It's a sin. It's a sin, okay? Fight with God. You're not going to win. So, this is raw, explicit truth. When you begin to think that's normal and you condone it and you're in agreement with it, that it's okay. When you believe that it's okay for your sexuality to be tampered with in your adulthood, in doggy style, you getting bent over to someone you're not married to in a strip club, in a bar, in a lounge, in a pool hall, on the beach, anywhere, and you're not married to this person, and God forbid if you're already living with them, you're just entangling yourself more in spiritual depth, DEPTH, emotional, mental, trauma stemming from deeply rooted issues in your childhood concerning your sexuality as well. where your purity of your sexuality has been snatched from you. And it's done traumatized you here mentally. And so now what you're doing is you're so deceived sexually that you enforcing the perversion of what happened to you sexually into a toxic demonic relationship or situationship that God didn't even send this person to you. Because anyone that God sends, they're going to push you closer to God. They're going to say, no, we're going to wait on God. And if you don't want to wait, then maybe we could build a friendship. But I'm not going to sin with you, sin against God with you. I'm not going to do that. But someone who Satan sends, they add insult to injury of what done happened to your sexuality being tampered with in your childhood too. They pull you and lure you further away from God if you choose to allow them to. So this is raw, unfiltered truth about those of us who continuously add to the problem of our sexuality being distorted, perverted, and contaminated to where now you can't even experience love. And then when you get heartbroken, cheated on, domestic violence, nose broken, or they had a child with another person instead of you, or kept the baby with that child, made you abort, deceived you, or talked you into aborting yours, whatever happened, you have to choose to let God heal you and deliver you from your sexuality, the purity of it, the healing of it being stolen from you in your childhood, and help you and convert your mindset, transform and renew your mind to be like the mind of Christ, to understand what love is. If you want to understand what love is and compare it to the people that you're having sex with, read this scripture, 1 Corinthians 13, 4 and 7. That's actually what love is. You don't have to go on social media. You don't have to go anywhere else. You go to the one who is love to find out what love is, and God is unconditional love. So that's not normal to be having sex with people you're not married to. And what happened is you wasn't born that way, but you got distorted that way when a friend of the family or a family member, whoever it was, appeared at your school, distorted you because either out of fear, instilling fear in you, bullying you, deceiving you, putting pressure on you, forcing you against your will, whatever they did, and that shifted your whole sexuality. But now in your adulthood, you have a choice. If you want to experience love, love is not in you having sex with multiple partners. Love is not you forming ungodly soul ties with folks you're not married to. Love is not you trying every gender, looking for love in the wrong places with the wrong faces. Love is not you moving in with somebody before marriage, test driving each other, becoming one with each other's bloodline curses and bloodline demons and toxic ways. Because the blind cannot lead the blind. You're both going to fall into a ditch of bondage. Love is not you enforcing something from your childhood traumas and issues of not being loved on. That's not love. That's you getting more entangled in a severe identity crisis, and you're about to bring stuff on yourself that's overwhelming and you can't handle it. And that's why God has been showing you red flags, warning signs from day one. You have to face the truth of why you keep overruling, overturning, overriding God's warning signs since day one. This is raw, unfiltered truth about different roots. Help you understand that's not normal. That's a sexual abnormality. That's not normal. God did not create you to be having sex. He created sex only for marriage, within marriage. But he did not create you to be having sex with different people or shacking up, as they say in church, living together with somebody you're not married to them. He did not create you to choose to have sex with somebody just to have a place to stay. He didn't create you to be having sex in strip clubs. That's not love. That's lust, a severe identity crisis, and excellent examples of someone whose sexuality has been stolen. The purity has been stolen, damaged, contaminated, perverted, you name it. Is no longer the way God created it. And until you choose to go to God and face the truth about your sexuality and how you got that way, you're not going to be able to experience love the way God desires his will in a godly marriage. You won't be able to. But as long as you keep coming into agreement with the lies of Satan, the lies that you form in your own mind, your deceitful ways about it, you need to be honest. But as long as you choose to come into agreement with it, and you won't use common sense to say something is wrong with me and my sexuality, then you're not going to experience love the correct way. All you're going to keep experiencing is what the same things that happen in your childhood in the adulthood version. That's it. And it doesn't get better. Especially if you have children involved, they're going to suffer the worst because of what you're choosing to do, not only against you, but against them too. So, raw and explicit, that's not normal. That's not normal. That's not your identity. And your sexuality needs healing. It needs restored back to its purity. It needs to be detoxified. You need to be healed and delivered. And you need to let God free you mentally, emotionally, inwardly, and even physically from what you've been through. You need to let God really cleanse you. Not just your sexuality, but your mindset and your heart. The Trinity. Your mindset, your heart, and your sexuality. There needs to be a working by your choosing of conviction, not condemnation. We don't beat ourselves over the head for stuff. But you need to go face the roots to the fruit of the perversion and contamination of your sexuality. Because until you do, you're just going to be a statistic. And Satan is just going to keep laughing. And you're just going to keep encountering toxic people, narcissistic people, people worse than you, people in a more severe identity crisis, people who don't love themselves, don't love you, can't love you. Because people can't give you what they don't have. And nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And the blind leading the blind, both going to fall to a ditch. So instead of enforcing things, why don't you accept the truth, run to God who is perfect with your imperfect self, and let him work on you if you so desire to experience love in his institution and sexual intimacy, the pure, raw, organic way, the way God intended, where he smiles on it, it pleases him. And you get pleased too, and so will them, that person of opposite gender in that marriage. Until next time.